Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to start the meeting now at 6:05 p.m., July 16th, 2025. I'm going to start with roll call. Is Jamie here?
Present.
Jess? Here. Lucius is maybe going to be here later. Lauren?
Here.
And Mar?
Present.
Heidi?
Here.
Thank you. Ted, do you want to do your roll call?
I'm going to defer to Alice here.
Okay, awesome. Love it.
Ted Gaithy,
Here.
Glenn DeWilly,
Here.
Tracy Charavallo. Here. John Chattel,
Here.
Alejandra Cortez. Not here. Emily Hess.
Here.
Rudy Salacori. Not here. He sent me a notice saying he couldn't. Allison Schweitzer also said she was not going to be able to make it. So, you're
The next thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the last meeting. Has everyone who had the minutes read them? Have any feelings about them?
I will move that we adopt our minutes from, or approve our minutes from the last meeting.
second.
Passes. Minutes approved. Or wait, sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Still don't get this democracy thing.
Yeah.
Motion passes. Minutes are approved.
Only been at it a couple hundred years.
Introductions. Since we don't, so this is our first, hopefully just our first meeting. I'm sorry.
We do have assistant communications. Community communications.
Community.
Hey, what am I supposed to do now?
Introduction.
Oh,
Number 3.
number 3.
Yeah, number 3.
Public comment. Community
Oh.
communication.
Probably never happened.
You're doing
No,
great.
we do. It's just we usually have
We have a new chair.
notice. Oh, thank you. Okay. Community communications. Is there anyone here who would like to say something?
I think not all of you know me. So my name is Sunrise O'Mahony. And can you, should I
I just- I'm bad. I'm bad.
Can you hear me?
I'm bad at hearing. I'm bad at hearing.
So my name is Sunrise O'Mahony, and I'm the executive director for the Watershed Alliance of Southwest Washington. And I don't have 3 minutes to talk, but I do want to thank you. I haven't had a chance. I just got this today to read through this, but it was very exciting to see this, what I was able to skim through. But I just want to kind of put a plug in for the Watershed Alliance, because when you're talking about building canopy and all of that, that is what we do. So on average, we put in easily about 15,000 plus trees, shrubs and trees. A lot of those are trees. And we do that all with volunteers. So we plant in Ridgefield, Camas, and then I kind of say everywhere in between. We've spent since 2008, we've been working on Burnt Bridge Creek. So I noticed in the plan, of course, that's a highlight when it comes to the tree canopy on there. So we are the reason that a lot of the trees that are on Burnt Bridge Creek are because of the work that we've done. And sorry, I rode my bike, so.
You're good. You're good.
But anyway, so we've done that. We also have a really active and big contract out in Ridgefield working on areas, mitigation planting. I'm sure some of you have seen what's going on out in Ridgefield. So with the Pioneer widening and the Costco and IQ,
It is
both
out.
Costco and IQ needed to have planting and go into all of that, but we're working on that as well. So, and then we've got a new project we'll be working on in Ridgefield as well. A lot of it is when you bring in the subdivisions, they have an area that sometimes they use as mitigation. Sometimes it cannot really be developed because it's more wetlands. So those are on average. One we did is over by Starbucks and Beverage in Ridgefield. This new one, it's not totally official yet, but it'll be about 10 acres. And so that's kind of what we do. And so I just want to put a plug in for the work that we do when you're talking about partnerships.
Is that by is that Corwin?
No, the one that we are going to be doing,
Yeah.
but no, it's Greeley Park. It's over on the other side of the.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Do you have anything to do with the stream teams, or is that still a thing?
it is still a thing, but no, great group, but
Okay.
no, that's a separate group. So ours is really focusing a lot on public lands is what we've primarily done.
Gotcha.
We do run in Clark County, we run the Backyard Habitat Certification Program, and that's Columbia Land Trust and Bird Alliance of Oregon. And sorry, I should be talking louder, Bird Alliance of Oregon. And so we run that on the ground here in the whole county. And then in Camas, we've been working with the business, so TSMC, which some of you might be familiar with, they made a lot of news with money on that. We've been working on a reforestation project for them. It's a big empty field. And we're on year 4, I think now, for doing plantings with that. And to give you kind of an idea, like I said, around 15,000+ plants get put in by around 800 volunteers. So it's a lot of volunteers and yet also not a lot to do what we do. So any questions, if you're allowed, any questions that you might have about?
We want to have you back, so I don't know, already I know I love what you're doing, so
love it.
we already want you to come back.
Well, I would love to come back and speak. And again, sorry for the casualness, but it is hot out there. So.
It's ridiculous out there. Thank you
I have a
very
question.
much.
Where can we get a shirt?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, our cool shirts. These are limited
Oh.
edition. We only have a handful left, but I thought we gave you one, Devin.
I don't know if I have one. I wish.
No, I don't think we did. I guess not. We do have a handful left. They're actually made by a local, what do you call that? Shirt
Silk
made.
screener?
They
Silk screener.
The fabric from scraps.
Oh.
That they're actually really fair trade in that sense. So they made it, and then all the dyes are environmentally friendly because a lot of dyes are not. And then the design was made by a local artist.
We need your resources to do our old Apple Tree Fest shirts. That checked every box.
Yes. I do have cards, business cards. If anybody wants them, I can leave those for you, but I'm gonna stay for the meeting and learn what you guys are learning.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, number 4 is introductions. Let's start with urban forestry. My name, just a short introduction is fine. We don't need a life story. Unless you're last, then just go for it. My name's Cliff. I've been doing this for 6 years. Do the Friends of Trees thing all season. I'm the chair. We do not. Just for 2 months though. What else? I think that's really it. What drew me to doing this? I don't know. I kind of backed into it. Like I didn't do it on purpose. I took Neighborwoods at the time, and just like couldn't stop thinking about trees, and that's when I started planting trees with Friends of Trees. So I think that was it. Jamie?
I can go next. I'm Jamie Byer. I'm the vice chair. This is my 3rd or 4th year on the commission. Not exactly sure where I land. I'm in my 1st term. So I joined the commission because I went to environmental college, and then I have I wanted to be more involved in my community mainly. So I was looking for a commission or a committee to join, and this one seemed like a good fit. So I would say I fell into a backwards cliff because I didn't do Friends of Trees until after I joined here, which is the opposite of what most people do.
So backwards.
Lauren?
Lauren Danner, and this is my first meeting as a commissioner, as with some of my colleagues here. I am also being backwards because I have not yet planted a tree with Friends of Trees, but I'm really interested in trees and their climate impact on cities and urban planning. I'm also come from a historic preservation background, so I'm interested in that as well. And trivia, Ted, the chair of the Clean Water Commission, we have season tickets, the University of Portland Pilots men's basketball. And so when I saw his name, I was like, oh my gosh, I've lived here a year and I already know somebody.
So do you know what's going on over at the academy with your historic preservation background?
Yeah, they're reconstructing the historic garden that was there. I had
I
a lot of
love that.
questions about the
I love that.
trees, but yeah, they're doing that.
Thank you.
I just assumed it was like a development project.
Yeah.
I'm driving past it, so that makes me
Put
really
a bunch
happy
of
here.
ADUs in front of it.
Garden.
My name's Jess Durfee. This actually, I think 1 year now. Next month will be my full year on the commission. Grew up in Oregon, lived in Vancouver for about 12 years, during which time I taught horticulture at Prairie High School. And then I moved to San Diego, served on their urban forestry advisory board. It's not a commission. And then I moved back, and so I applied for this, and happy to be appointed. And yeah, I've planted a lot of trees throughout my life and taught kids to plant trees. So happy to be doing this.
I can go next. Hi, my name's Amar. I have been on the Urban Forestry Commission for 22 days and counting. Almost 1 month, almost. I'm in my 4th year at WSU Vancouver. Well, it probably won't be. I switched majors twice. That happens sometimes. I applied because I wanted to get more involved with the community. I love doing volunteer work anywhere outdoors. I do a bunch with the Washington Trail Association. I'm always somewhere in the mountains doing something. Should have prepared a little bit more. That's pretty much me.
Gifford Pinchot Mountains or like Larch Mountain?
Everywhere. I was just actually up in. We installed a few benches in Ridgefield National Wildlife Refuge.
Oh, nice.
That was really. Yeah, and cleared out a lot of ivy. Some of it
Is it-
snow.
That was like an ivy pole. Was that with a
Yes.
group or an organized group?
Yeah, with WTA,
WTA, which is.
Washington Trails Association.
Oh, cool.
Folks online?
You want me to go next?
Yes, please, Heidi.
Okay, hi, I'm Heidi Mandler Huff. It's also my first meeting. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there in person today. So just briefly, I moved from the Historic Preservation Commission over to here. I wanted to kind of shift my focus from protecting buildings to protecting trees. So it seemed like a really good fit for me, and I'm excited to learning more about the commission and working with a great team of people.
Thank you, Heidi. Clean Water Commission? Oh, Shalise is, she's our writer down person. I can't think of that. You're welcome.
Ted, do you want to kick us off for commission introductions?
Sure. My name's Ted Gaithy. I'm the current chair this year of the Clark County Clean Water Commission. And it's interesting to see two familiar faces here, Jeff and Lauren, and my old colleague from the Watershed Alliance. I served 8 years on the board of directors of the Watershed Alliance, Southwest Washington, and I can assure you they are a first-class operation. Do wonderful work in this community. I spent 2 decades as a city attorney. I spent a lot of time in this building at City Hall. So I know the city pretty well. I know Charles very well. We worked together for many years. I have a long abiding interest in environmental issues, but I've kind of switched focus now to water quality. When this commission opportunity came up 3 years ago, I jumped at it and got appointed, and it's been a great learning experience. Commission does a lot of good work, and you'll hear about that tonight.
Hi, Glenn DeWilly. I'm vice chair of the Clean Water Commission. Joined about a year and change ago. Degreed in civil and environmental engineering, and that's kind of what got me here. I grew up on the sloppy shores of Lake Erie, Cleveland, Ohio. I watched on the news in black and white TV the Cuyahoga River burn. I asked my dad, "What's that all about?" He goes, "Rivers aren't supposed to burn." Next question. And I grew a passion for me in the environment, the outdoors. Grew up loving camping, just being outside. So after retiring a couple of years ago, I kind of found my way to a few different things: stream team, barrier assessment team for Trout Unlimited, some nonprofit activities, and voila, here I am at the Clean Water Commission.
I'm Tracy Chiravalo, and I've been on the Clean Water Commission about the same time as Glenn has been. I also sit on the Conservation District with Devon. And I am a volunteer for the Backyard Habitat Program. I'm a certifier. which I totally love. I wrote up 2 of them this week. One was for Ty Silver. So I love that volunteer job so much that I'm actually going down into Portland now because there's not enough people trying to be certified in Clark County. So get on it, people. My background is horticulture and landscape architecture. And I taught my kids to testify at hearings and fight the oil terminal and coal terminal and all that kind of good stuff. So here I am.
Do you guys, a great place to show up and sell the idea of backyard habitat is at Friends of Trees plantings? Do you do that?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, no, we have not.
Okay. Well, I can send
That's a
you
great idea, yeah.
Adela's information. Because those are your people. It seems like a lot of the plantings are on properties with your little signs on them. So backyard habitat.
I think I've learned that a lot of people have a hard time going from their initial visit to,
All the way through.
like calling them to be certified, which is the only time that I am called in. Is when they say, hey, I think I'm ready to be certified. And then I go out and check. And then with my design background, I give them lots of free ideas for more stuff they can do.
My name is Emily Hess. I've been on the Clean Water Commission for 6 months. My background is working as a hydrogeologist for a consultant here in Vancouver, but education was also in chemistry and archaeology, so interesting to hear the historic preservation portion there. I've lived in Clark County for 15 years, and the reason I was interested in joining the commission was it combines so many of the different areas that I'm interested in, from trail running and being out in our different county parks to kayaking and being part of the Vancouver Sailing Club, and just learning more about our different watersheds and what we can do to protect them.
We have one person online. John?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I'm in visiting family here in Sparks, Nevada, and I'm not able to get my camera to work either, even though multiple attempts. So like Emily, I've been on the commission for about 6 months, retired from the U.S. Forest Service as the Threatened Endangered Sensitive Species Program Manager for the region, a background in hydrology and fisheries, and saw the opportunity and always been interested in the streams and the biota we have in Clark County, and seemed like a perfect opportunity to understand what everybody does in the programs. And so far it's been wonderful, and looking forward to the discussion this evening.
And if we wouldn't mind taking a moment, sorry. I wanted to give my boss, Jenny Coker, a chance to introduce herself. I'm really happy that she was able to join. I don't know if you're sticking around the whole time, Jenny, but I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you. And I'm definitely staying for the whole time. And please excuse me, I'm not there.
We can't hear you. Oh, no, we can partially.
Oh, there's always one.
There you go.
It's there. It's just fading.
Well, I'll make it quick. I love this work. I have 25 years of civil environmental engineering. I actually come more from the wastewater and water reuse background. And so it's so wonderful to pair that with the approaches of clean water here. I'm so excited by the diversity of the work, and I care so much about the climate resiliency we're building. So the education, and especially this joint work of planting trees and what we're going to do to help cool and absorb stormwater and build habitat, is just so exciting for me. So with that, I'm going to be quiet. So, and listen.
We heard it all.
Thank you.
Good job.
And Jenny's our Deputy Director of Public Works at Clark County. So you've been with us since November approximately, or when did you join?
Yeah, Thanksgiving. So
lucky to have her. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Should you have the other staff introduce themselves?
And
I'll introduce myself, and I think it'd be helpful just for us to, since we're all new faces. My name is Devin Rostifer. I'm the Clean Water Division Manager for Clark County Public Works. I have been in this role since August of 2023. Previously, I've worked for Department of Natural Resources, Department of Ecology, and I'm an active volunteer in the community. I'm on the Clark Conservation District's board. I was previously on the Watershed Alliance's board. And there's probably something I'm missing. Oh, I was on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission also for the city of Vancouver. So I really appreciate the work you're doing because I've been in a similar seat. We're really happy to be here. Our commission has a strong interest in networking with other commissions and boards and collaborating across jurisdictions. So we appreciate you trying something new. This is our first time meeting with another commission. So thank you for having us. Thank you to Charles for coordinating with us and the other staff. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very
And
much.
to answer your question, Lauren, I'm Alice Millward, and I am the Clark County Clean Water Commission's program assistant and the staff liaison for Clean Water Commission.
Good evening, everyone. Charles Ray, urban forester with the city of Vancouver. I've been with the city for a little over 20 years and public works department. Started off we were in parks and then shifted into public works in about 2006 when the program became more tied to surface water. So then we moved into public works at that time as well. So welcome, everyone.
Hi, Jessica George, Urban Forestry Outreach Coordinator. Been working with Charles since 2008, supporting education, volunteerism, and outreach with the program.
I think that's everybody. So the next thing on the list is the Urban Forestry Commission presentation. I'm not presenting anything.
For the most.
Is it too far away?
I can't see what's happening up there. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, well, thanks for bearing with us. Can I get the little screen this up?
I think if you hit some minimize.
I can't see anything.
Can you?
Just bring it up here.
Yeah, bring it up here. I think you can. Yeah, come sit with us.
Yeah. Don't be a stranger.
So Valerie,
I don't have any glasses with my contacts. Okay, thank you. All righty.
I can't decide which garment or suit.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to spend a few minutes going over urban forestry, a bit of an overview. Sorry if I'm preaching to the choir, but then discuss our urban forestry program in Vancouver as well, and the various programs and initiatives that we have. And please feel free, this is casual, so if you have questions as we're going through here, please feel free just to ask them. That's a little better. Can everybody see that okay? So throughout the city, urban forestry is the management of the trees, the shrubs, the soils that those plants are living in throughout our community. But really, urban forestry is the forest in our city. So in the parking lots of the grocery store, front yards, backyards, school playgrounds, all around us. And so it's really the management of all of those areas. Oh, sorry, let me just go admit that like this.
John was.
Would it be Charles? Oh, maybe this one.
I think, yeah, go to the next button over.
This one. Who's there? They're there.
Who's there?
Oh, okay, they got it. Okay, thanks. So urban forestry is, becoming more and more important as our nation, but really the world is continuing to urbanize, more people moving into our cities, more development happening in our cities. So really looking at preserving and protecting the plants that we do have, and then how are we also putting in more trees for all the benefits that they're really providing us throughout our community. You know, we're just that tiny speck in the corner, but that tiny speck continues to get a little more red as people really are moving into our city and our county and building out. I mean, I think hearing about Ridgefield a moment ago is a perfect example of what that urbanization looks like and how are we complementing that with our natural resources and enhancing them along the way. So trees are throughout our city. They're in our lowlands, our uplands, you know, it's throughout the watershed. Watershed is that area where, you know, a common place of land where the water drains to. Our most prominent watershed in Vancouver is Burke Ridge Creek. And that, you know, as we know, is gets a lot of attention over time and continues to need some more attention. But really what we're doing throughout our watersheds is impacting water quality and the health of the environment within those watersheds. And that even goes to, you know, on our property as well. What are we doing on our lands and on our properties to help to improve the soils, the tree canopy, and the ecosystem services really throughout that. So in Vancouver, in the city of Vancouver, Urban Forestry, our program manages the upland areas for urban forestry enhancement. And then we have a partner also in public works that manages and plants out the lowlands. So all those riparian areas and those lower watershed areas to enhance those areas. So it's a great partnership that we have with them, and we work closely with them in enhancing all areas of our watersheds throughout Vancouver. So as we know, you know, trees are providing valuable benefits, just the air quality, stormwater water quality, and carbon sequestration ecosystem benefits. I mean, that's millions of dollars. You can't build machines to really manage that like our trees do and our plants and our shrubs. That's very impactful. We also know that trees, and we are learning so much more about this as well. So much more data and science is going into understanding the impacts of human health and access to nature, and nearby access to nature as well. Not just assuming that we can get out to different Pinchot National Forest, but we need, you know, close access for everyone in our community. But yeah, over the past 40 years, there's been a lot of studies and information to learn more about how and why. And Green Cities Good Health has a lot of great documents on there, learning more. And then trees in our habitat. You know, we can't live without trees. The trees and bugs and all the animals sure could live without us, though. So, you know, it's really up to us to be stewards of the trees for everything. For all that, what was it that I heard lately, recently? The better than human, or more than human. I liked that. That was interesting. Trees are increasing property values. And so really those thoughtful developments, especially when Esther Short Park was redone in the late 90s, it was really intentional for Esther Short Park to re-welcome as kind of the downtown core to the, you know, the community back to the downtown core. And it's rebuilding, creating a plaza, creating a gazebo, keeping those big, large shade trees there, planting more shade trees. And as that was developed out, then you started to see all of the buildings and development around it start to grow. And, you know, we continue to see it. So that thoughtful money's being put into the development, you can see over time. And that's just one example, but, you know, mature trees in our front yards increase property values significantly.
Have you come across many people that look at a tree like that and they're like, I'm afraid it's going to fall on my house. I want to cut it down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Big trees can be scary to people. And we often field those conversations, and how that conversation goes is, you know, listening to them and their fears, but then really talking to them about the structure of the tree, the health of the tree, and looking at the tree for that, for what it is. Yeah. That's a common question that we get. So our program has kind of a three-pronged approach, as I'm very much simplifying this, but we maintain and preserve what we have when we can. We look to grow the tree canopy, so we plant about 2,000 trees a year and to really grow and to do that. And then that third is really building the stewardship, because trees are throughout the city. we all have responsibilities to care for them, whether they're on our property, in our parks, in our planting strips, or in our natural spaces. So in 2022, oh, look at that, 2023, we completed the urban forestry management plan, and that's a long, like 25-year look at our program and continuing to build urban forestry throughout the community so we can really grow with our community, looking at addressing, what that growth looks like when we're also developing and growing as a community, when we're facing climate change and other impacts as well. So a very comprehensive plan. We were excited to update it. It had been maybe since 2007.
2007 was the first management.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. So that was a great opportunity to update that and a little more relevant document for us. The city's climate action framework had come out just before that, so it was a really great opportunity to really install some of those new climate action framework goals that the city has into the urban forestry management plan, and now the city is working on the city's comp plan, so we're able to feed these updated documents into that as well. So we are excited about just the timing of that and really ensuring that tree stewardship and management is forward in these various city documents. The boring, not boring part. So we do have ordinances around trees within the city. And these are a couple of them that are usually the most common ones. There's also development ordinances that we have, but we really have the tree permits for street trees and for private trees for removing, planting, and oftentimes major pruning of them. And that's to make sure that the trees that we do have are structurally safe and sound and continue to be maintained and thrive as long as they can. And then if a tree is removed, that we can get one for one when feasible. And with the street tree permits and any of those, even private development, we're reviewing those private development projects as well. It's just to make sure that we're getting the right tree in the right place, because we are in a city and there is a lot of infrastructure happening in the city, and we want to reduce those conflicts as much as possible. And then we really always tell people that please, if you are having some tree work done or need a tree assessed, to hire a professional. And we do have a list of tree care companies on our website that is very often accessed. It just seems like a resource that the community really appreciates and values. Because if you don't know about trees, or I say with my car, I don't know where to go and how to do these things, but I need somebody that I trust to give me advice and work on it. So this is a valuable list to have. So we get into the fun stuff, which is the data. So I believe the county just did a tree canopy study.
Yes, we're at the very beginning, so a little behind Vancouver, but lots to learn from you.
No, you can't manage what you don't know. So I think it's just so imperative to get the data, understand what you have, where it's at, the health and structure of it. And so we also went through Tree Plotter or Planet Geo and software called Tree Plotter that we use. And this is a map of just an overview canopy of the city's urban forest. And it's not by neighborhood. I think this is census tract. Oh, it is census tract, yeah. So kind of closely aligned to neighborhoods. You can really see in the green where the areas have the higher tree canopy, 30% and above. And then the reds and the oranges are getting pretty darn low. So this really allows us to focus resources in low canopy neighborhoods so that we can also really address equity, that everyone is having access to all of the benefits that trees are providing. So we have a goal of planting about 2,000 trees a year to really get that equitable tree canopy throughout Vancouver. We currently have a 21% tree canopy cover. And it's been great to see that growing, inching up year by year. But we do have a goal of a 30% tree canopy cover. And, we hope to achieve that not only through tree planting, but through the permits and the other regulations that we have within the city as well.
Is that for your existing area? Because what if Vancouver grows?
Have to redo everything. Yeah, so this is for existing, just city limits as is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also to that point with developers, largely trying to, I wouldn't say always, but nearly clear cut large stands, there's always a subtraction factor going on. How do you check the net of that 2,000 tree dent?
Because it takes a while for those young trees to really come up on the imagery for the
Right.
data. So with Tree Plotter, we have a contract that every 2 or 3 years.
Every 2 to 3 years, we'll get new data from Tree Plotter. Historically, you would do projects like this every 10 years. And then you would do a measurement for a benchmark. And you would say, oh, we're at 16%. And then you have to wait 5 to 10 years for another benchmark. But with this new technology that's changed over probably the last 7 years or so, Tree Plotter is able to do it not Tree Plotter, but Planet Geo is able to do it pretty much every 2 years, taking the data from the city and redoing it.
Are they able to fly the LiDAR to check tree health as well?
No, this one is just satellite.
Oh, using existing satellite imagery?
Whenever
Okay.
this new satellite imagery comes up, then they take it and they illuminate trees.
Got it. Thank
Yeah, it's somewhat limited. Tree canopy studies, more limited than the tree by tree inventory for reasons that you stated. Not really able to tell species, health, structure, size, et cetera. But we're still getting kind of that broader overview of where the trees are. We do get a bit more data, which is really nice that we can go in here and go back years to see in a neighborhood or in a census tract where the tree canopy has declined or grown, closely related to development when it declines, especially those large tracts that are developed as well. So it is an interesting tool to be able to utilize.
And I may offer really quick, we actually just acquired the same tool. So excited we haven't shared that with you yet. We're unveiling that tonight, but we also have.
And I did not include a slide. I would be remiss not to include, though. We are also nearing the end of a contract with Planet Geo to do a street tree inventory. So they're about 80% through the street tree inventory now. But that's a really great inventory data set to have, because we do have the much more robust information on species, size, health, location, and then we can then go and do some more active management around those street trees, whether city owned or adjacent property owners managing.
And that's using the drive-by technology?
That is you're walking up to a tree and
wow.
there are about 4 or 5 contractors on the grounds. Going through the city, taking all the measurements and putting it in.
DDH, everything.
Everything. Wow. Height.
So-
Condition.
So it was a grant we received from the state in 2024.
Yeah, so I think just this week we got a part 1 report from it. So it's kind of neat to start to dig into that, learn a bit more.
And when you say up to 30%, a vacant field like a playground, that's not tree canopy, even though it's grass or vegetation.
Yeah,
But that wouldn't count towards
anything
your
only above, no, exactly. And
dense blackberry. No, okay.
They're trying to heal the soil.
Okay. So trees.
with this data, we also know that we have potential. So a healthy Pacific Northwest city can have 40% tree canopy cover. It can handle that. We can grow a lot of big trees here, right? This showed us that Vancouver can have a 52% tree canopy cover. Also taking into account that we need open play for sports fields, that all of those things can still retained and be there. But, there's plenty of potential for a lot more trees, but still, open spaces, roads, buildings, all of the.
Does that reduce your ability for solar on houses, or does it?
Yeah. If it's dug fir on the south side of your house, yeah.
And it's based on the data, so that's why it's an achievable goal for the city, is the 30%. And then in the future, when we redo the data, then that goal could either increase or decrease.
Makes sense for our community, the time that we're in. We have a newer program, the Proactive Street Tree Management Program, where we work in conjunction with transportation, and they have a list of roads that they are going to do a type of application to for the calendar year, whether it's repaving, doing other things to it. And historically, we have gone in ahead of transportation just for clearance for the big vehicles to get in, tree clearance for the big vehicles to get down the streets to do the work. We've expanded that partnership, and now we have our contractor go in to each tree that's on those streets, those pre-identified streets, and the contractor will prune for clearance as well as structure each tree. And then staff will also go and work with adjacent property owners if there's a dead tree for removing and replacing that dead tree, or if it's a tree of heaven or an invasive tree. And then any open planting strips or street tree opportunity areas, we also try to work with the adjacent property owner to plant a tree in those areas as well. So that's been a neat program to start to build out our street tree inventory. And street trees are in Vancouver, in much of the Pacific Northwest, street trees are the adjacent property owner's responsibility. So this, which could be a burden. So this program helps to reduce that burden, not remove it, because it's, that would need to be funded differently. But this reduces the burden of having a tree there, but then increases the benefits of having street trees. So all the stormwater and shade benefits that you're getting for trees in those locations.
Do they encourage people when they say they have to cut down a dead tree to leave it on the property for habitat for insects or anything?
If the adjacent property owner would like it, we would communicate that with the contractor. I don't know if that's happened yet.
That hasn't.
It's one of the backyard habitat categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something to look at. With emerald ash borer being found in Oregon, we're trying to limit movement of ash. So sometimes we'll leave the ash wood for at least a year before we remove it. But that's mostly in the parks, not necessarily in the streets. But that's something we can definitely talk to people about when we are talking about removal, is leaving the wood for the habitat value if they're open to it.
What would you want that left wood to look like?
Well, it depends. I mean, a really nice big log can look really cool actually too.
Mhm.
I did a yard not that long ago, and that was most of their feature. Because all those plants going in look so tiny, but they had this log, they could stand on it, and they had a neighborhood squirrel that enjoyed hanging out on it and stuff. So, it was a sizable log that was 10 feet long, at least. It's nice. Or you can do piles of branches and stuff, and that's also good habitat for bugs.
Keep the plants on the logs.
Bugs. Yeah.
So we have several programs. These are just a few of the programs that we also have for encouraging tree planting throughout Vancouver. Witness Tree Program, which is kind of serves as a memorial tree program or a gift tree program. Mostly we're planting in parks with individuals and families. And it's lovely and nice. We have about 200 trees that we planted in that program over the years. The Art Tree Giveaway, currently this is an annual once a year program in October where we are giving away smaller sized trees so people can fit them in their cars.
Yes.
They are the form of them is medium to large form, native and or climate adaptive trees. And the idea is it's going to be planted in a residential yard. So we've been doing that for several years now, and it's been well received. And then Tree Fund Program, if planting if none of these options work, or if somebody can't work with Friends of Trees to plant a tree, and they just want to plant a tree on their private property, they can receive a bit of a refund through partnership with Water Department billing.
Does Friends of Trees, there you go.
There we are.
So they've been partnering with Friends of Trees since 2002. And have definitely grown that partnership over the years. A great program and great partner that we work with here in Vancouver. They are asking for $35 to plant a tree, and it can be a street tree or a yard tree on primarily residential property. Sometimes they'll partner with churches or whatnot, or other small businesses or multifamily. But the bonus, the best thing about it is the tree is brought to your home for you, the hole is dug for you, and it's planted to you by trained volunteers. So that's a win-win-win for the property owner. But then really what I see Friends of Trees as building community, because it's bringing just droves of volunteers together, eating food together, going and planting trees together and having that commonality. And so that really is their superpower for sure.
And so my question was going to be,
The process of determining what trees are climate adapted.
We continue to revisit that as we learn more about trees, and we add trees to our list and take them off as we observe what's doing well and what's not, and talk to other partner programs and municipalities. We're kind of looking a little bit south of us, what's doing well, knowing our climate is continuing to get hotter and drier. Unfortunately, we have to take trees off our list. So for the yard tree giveaway, we no longer are offering, Western red cedars or hemlocks, our native trees that just aren't doing well in urban environments anymore. So yeah, it's a changing list that we're continuing to learn from and learn more about. Doug firs are still doing good.
Oh,
They
yeah.
just better hold on.
There's Doug fir volunteers everywhere in the county.
Yes, they're still doing good.
Yeah.
So it's not just street trees. You'll go into people's backyards and
Yeah,
do that too.
so
Okay.
our contract, we will plant street trees and or yard trees. I believe no fruit trees. And then the partnership, what we work with them, if it's a private tree, yard tree, the individual works directly with Friends of Trees. If it's a street tree, then we get involved and are making sure to mark out proper location and then provide the list of trees that that person can then choose from.
At one planting I was at, we planted with Mo. It was 20 trees in the lady's backyard.
Oh, great.
So, yeah.
What a service.
Yeah.
That's great. Other programs that we do to really help to facilitate the environmental stewardship across the community are workshops throughout the year, various topics. This EAB workshop that we just had, it was great because we had the tree inventory completed, so we were able to do a direct mailing to people who had ash tree trees and start to invite them so they could learn about what's happening and then how they can best manage their tree.
Is that summer tree walk available to people who aren't Vancouver residents?
Everything is. Please come. Trees don't know boundaries, but absolutely, yes. All of our workshops and events are open to the public that would like to join, wherever you come from.
Does that include neighborhoods or tree students? Because most of my class, I think, was from Portland.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So another program that we have that's a bit more robust than the one-off workshops is Neighborhood Tree Stewards. And this is a session of six trainings kind of in a row with the same group of individuals, learning urban forestry, biology, proper tree care, planting, with the goal of equipping them to be stewards in their neighborhood or community as they see it. And so folks, having gone through Tree Stewards, have done some pretty cool projects, pruning, planting tons of trees, partnering with Friends of Trees and understanding more about those partnerships. So it's really about building that community and exposing people to all of the opportunities that we have in our area. Then I have various outreach campaigns as we see kind of concerns and issues arise throughout the community, whether it's Emerald Ash Borer awareness as it's on our doorstep or proper pruning, et cetera.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How many people on the Clean Water Commission knows what the tree of heaven is?
I think I have one in my yard.
I know you do. I'm sure you do. Does it smell like peanut butter?
I was gonna ask about it.
The leaves?
So
We need
take
to
the
follow
leaf
up
and
after
crush it
this.
and smell like peanut butter. There's a tree steward, actually, I can get you in touch with him. He has made it his personal mission to to identify tree of heaven throughout the community and then eradicate it.
It's Jeff.
So he even.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so he has, he will, yes.
It's his mission.
Yeah,
We love him for that.
Okay, great.
We
Yeah.
love him for that.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he got his applicator license just so he could do that.
Nice.
It was hilarious. But yeah, happy to follow up with you.
Thank you.
And then the Urban Forestry Commission is really an advisory commission or council to advise the city leadership on urban forestry best management practices. 7 members serve a 4-year term, and they can serve up to 2 terms on the commission. And then we also have outreach subcommittees on the commission that the commissioners are a part of that are kind of building out interests and projects. There's pollinator subcommittee, outreach and education subcommittee, corridor subcommittee,
Policy.
policy subcommittee.
That's it.
That's it. And one of the projects that they do is the Heritage Tree Program, which I know the county has a Heritage Tree Program as well. Those are awesome. And they had to measure the sequoia. How many commissioners consider measuring the sequoia? So that's it for us. Any questions before we hand it over? Do you want it back there or?
No,
You want it? Oh, we don't.
Yes. Are there any comments? I would offer, I see the City of Vancouver's urban forestry program as a role model. I hope someday that we can continue to build urban forestry resources in Clark County that follow in the footsteps. So we look forward to learning a lot from your programs, and we are, I would say, at the very beginning. One thing I want to ask Jessica, or maybe for Charles, is you mentioned that you're doing a street tree inventory and that was paid for by the state. Can you talk a little bit about what the typical process is for going from assessment to management plan, or how you have moved your program forward and those milestones that DNR's funding?
So I think DNR, great partner, Department of Natural Resources with the state of Washington is a great partner. I think our first grants that really helped us move the needle was probably our first management plan back in 2007. And that was really just having a consultant come in and just take everything and just kind of bring everything together and put it into one document. From there, we've been really able to start to build out a 2-year work plan that pretty much follows the city's budget process. So we're able to do a 2-year work plan from there. And then with that, looking at starting those other projects from the state. So looking at the real big picture was the canopy study and looking at the management plan. And then from there, starting to pull those items from the management plan and start working on them. Working on the 2-year work plan. And then looking at the opportunities for the grants from the state and really just picking and choosing those. So over the years, and Jessica chime in, we've had planting grants, the inventory grants, the management plan grants, the Emerald Ash Borer grant, which helped us really kickstart. We developed the Emerald Ash Borer management plan in 2022, and then got a grant from the state to start enacting some of those action items as part of that Emerald Ash Borer plan. Any other grants from the state that you can think of? The state did have a tree by tree grant for parks that we participated in. I think it was 2017. So then once you start getting the grants, when they have the grants available, sometimes they'll have a contractor and then they'll send the contractor out. So that's how we were able to participate in the 2017 Parks Inventory Grant.
Do you have a handle on both capital and operations budgets, forestry overall for the city of Vancouver-ish?
It's it's roughly about 1.7 million for the city.
For capital?
We don't really have a capital program.
Okay, how do you get the 2,000 trees?
So that's out of operations.
Oh, okay.
So it's operations funding. And so it's for just urban forestry, it's about 1.7, 1.8 million.
Okay.
It fluctuates with the grants.
They just put that in the capital?
I believe they ended up leaving it in the operations. So our grounds department had was funding a parks burning cycle. And the last budget cycle, we were looking at moving that into capital. But council just kept it into operations.
Thanks.
And one more question. Would you say that the assessment and getting the data was your first step, and how often do you update that data?
Yeah, so the first first canopy assessment that we did, we partnered with the county's GIS department. And they helped us put together, and that was like 2003.
Oh, wow.
And so that kind of helped us from there, using that data to inform the management plan draft. And then we had 2003, and then I think we did it again because they were extremely expensive because of the data and just the person hours of processing the data before it was just processing itself. So it's 2003, we did the canopies, we did the management plan in 2007, and then we did another canopy study in 2011. And part of that had, and what's great about those canopy studies is typically will give you some lessons learned or areas for improvement, things that you can work on. For example, the 2011 canopy study actually identified public-private partnerships as an opportunity, especially in the Greenway. And so then the city was able to partner with the Watershed Alliance to put together a public-private nonprofit partnership. And the goal was really looking at the lowlands, the riparian zones, and the city was maintaining all this patchwork, but in between the patchwork, there was these private property owners, and how can we work with these private property owners? So that way we partnered with the Southwest Washington Watershed Alliance. So it's really great when you do those canopy studies because it can really identify, kind of like the comment earlier about development, really shows you where you're growing canopy, but then also how you're losing it or why. And so development's always a big one. Well, usually the first one, saying where you're losing. And then from there, I think from 2011 to 2021, there was a lot of several grants, inventory projects working on, and then we did another canopy assessment in 2021, and that's when we learned that the data was starting to change and they could do it on a 2-year cycle. You don't get that in-depth of here's where you're gaining, here's where you're losing, but it kind of just gives you that kind of date and time of where you are and the methodology is the same. So it's using the same satellite imagery and processing.
Do we need to admit Mark or no?
And I also wanted to ask, were there any questions online that we may have missed? Oh, no. Jenny, were you not able to see the presentation or were you?
No, but I listened and I paid attention, so.
I couldn't see it either, but
Oh,
we
no.
but we had a copy of it, so I was listening to it.
It's fine.
Apologies for that. Awesome.
So we'll share this one then.
Can you see that one?
We got the thumbs up from Jennifer. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I tend to talk through slides pretty quick, so please don't be concerned about the 52. I'm going to scroll through them fast. It's a lot of pictures. But thank you for having us. Really excited to be here today. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about the Clark County Clean Water Division and what we do, because we do a lot of things, and trees are just a small part of that, but a very important part. And we have a lot of opportunity for growth in the urban forestry work that we do. We're going to talk a little bit about the recent urban tree canopy assessment that was just completed for Clark County's urban growth areas, and then also about the Clean Water Commission and their priorities. Okay, so here's the Clean Water Division. Right now we had 18 people when I started. We're now at 24, I believe. So we're growing right now. We're planning to add, we'll have 34 by 2029. So we're really excited to be growing our team and bringing more people on board to do important clean water work. I did want to talk a little bit about what type of water do we work on. When we say we're the Clean Water Division, it's not drinking water. That's managed by Clark Public Utilities. City of Vancouver also has a drinking water program. Other municipalities do, but Clark County does not provide drinking water services. It's not wastewater. Clark Regional Wastewater District provides most of the county's wastewater services in partnership with other jurisdictions. We focus on stormwater, which is essentially all of the water that comes down from rain, hits roofs, hits hard surfaces, and runs off of lawns, and ultimately enters catch basins, goes through pipes into our streams, or maybe it just gets directly through the stream by running off lawns. So we're focused on stormwater. Why do we have a clean water division? We exist because of the Clean Water Act. So there's the Federal Clean Water Act that has lots of requirements for municipalities for us to have programs to help protect clean water. And those requirements are passed through, again, from the EPA to the state of Washington, and each municipality, including Vancouver, we have a stormwater permit that has a lot of different requirements that we have to implement. So a lot of what we do is to remain in compliance with state and federal law. I'm assuming you also have to deal with that too. So how do we provide clean water services? So we do a few different things. We do capital planning and project implementation. So one of our big projects that just kicked off is the Heritage Farm wetland restoration. If you go out past 78th, we're constructing a very large wetland project. We also construct traditional stormwater facilities, bioretention facilities, underground stormwater infrastructure that help treat and remove pollution from stormwater. We also do a lot of maintenance and operations. So we have Vector trucks, street sweepers out in the field, removing pollutants from getting into our stormwater, and also watering any plantings that we implement. And our team's responsible for right now for about 2,000 public facilities. Our valuation of our assets is around 321 million. So we're very much infrastructure focused. We have to inspect 95% of these annually. And we have required timeframes to repair. So just to break that down, what does that look like? We have 600 bioretention facilities, 500 stormwater ponds, over 500 miles of pipe underground, multiple properties that need more mowing. We have dry wells, 1,600 of them. And then we also regulate and inspect over almost 2,000 private facilities that are associated with subdivision developments or commercial developments. And around 200 of our public facilities we estimate are over 30 years old. So we have a lot of things that we're trying to build, but also a lot of aging infrastructure that we're trying to keep functioning. We do stormwater planning, partnerships, and coordination. We work a lot with multiple organizations, including Backyard Habitat. We've worked with Watershed Alliance, just to name a few. And then we have a whole monitoring and assessment team that is out collecting water quality data. They're working in the rivers, looking at bugs, stream temperature, bacteria, you name it. They're a fantastic, talented team of scientists. And then again, we do lots of inspections. We're out looking at everything that's privately and publicly owned in unincorporated Clark County, so outside of the municipal jurisdictions. And then we do pollution prevention and business source control. So we have inspectors that go to businesses that produce hazardous waste, and they talk to them about storage of materials, making sure that dumpsters have lids, that there aren't buckets of random chemicals sitting around, and that they're disposed properly. And we have mapping and inventory. So everything that's been built, our team maps. And one of our staff, he's been at the county for probably almost 30 years. He has single-handedly mapped all of the underground infrastructure. What a career that is. It's a massive underground network. We also do education and outreach. We work a lot in partnership with other cities around the area through our stormwater partners for Southwest Washington. So we have a lot of work on our plate. And you notice I haven't mentioned trees yet because we're just starting to build more formal tree programs. So what are our challenges? I would say compliance. Our regulations keep getting more stringent, which is important. We want to protect clean water. But that comes with a cost. We also have aging infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, and we're still figuring out how much of those infrastructure assets need to be repaired This is from Vancouver. I show this picture. This is a drinking water issue. You guys, since you live here, probably know about this. But one of our biggest priorities is underground pipes. So we're also at the beginning of starting our flagship effort to begin inspecting all of the underground pipes in Clark County for the first time. And we have 500 miles. And the reason we want to get them inspected is to make sure we're fixing them before we have issues that cause challenges for public safety.
And when you guys say Clark County, that includes Vancouver?
No, that's a great question. And I wish I had a map. So unincorporated Clark County are all of the areas that are outside of the municipal jurisdiction. So we do not do any work within the city of Vancouver. We may have partnership efforts, but the city of Ridgefield, Battleground, Yakult, we're essentially everything in between.
Okay.
So in the urban areas, we are, how would I explain it? About Hazeldale, Minnehaha North, up throughout the rest of the county. I'm describing that very poorly. I wish I had a map to show you. I don't know if I included one, but I can. Yeah, outside of city limits. Everything outside of city limits. Thank you, Sunrise, for simplifying that. But as you know, like we're growing. So a lot of our work is focused on managing and planning for growth, building new infrastructure to manage water runoff. We also care a lot about salmon recovery, and that those needs are increasing, and figuring out what can we do to preserve the habitat that we have, but also do restoration. And climate is changing, so we're seeing more and more floods, and that's a big focus of our team is helping make sure we're not causing issues with localized flooding and disrupting traffic. And lake management. We've been doing a lot more on lake management, both on Lacamas Lake and Vancouver Lake, which has been an ongoing need in our community that we work in partnership with cities of Vancouver, Camas, and the Port of Vancouver, and still also building those programs. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're at on urban tree canopy. So a bit of history here. When I started at Clark County in 2023, I came into the job being a super fan of the City of Vancouver's programs, and saw that the Department of Natural Resources had a grant opportunity available to do urban tree canopy assessments. And that was something I was personally interested in. And so we worked in partnership with Clark Conservation District in consultation with Charles to help put together a grant application. Unfortunately, when we applied, we weren't initially funded. We were really bummed out. But then Department of Natural Resources reached out to us directly and told us they had some money left over, and ultimately gave us a direct appropriation of funding to complete the first urban tree canopy assessment in Clark County. And so we just finished that effort. Really exciting. It's kind of been a personal, I don't want to say pet project of mine, but was exciting to be involved with that and to start getting the baseline information that we need to work towards building future programs. And so it looks and feels a lot like the City of Vancouver's urban tree canopy assessment. It was also completed by Planet Geo, which is the same contractor. So what's really exciting about this is continuity within the region. So the data that we have is comparable. The tree plotter tool is the same tool. And my understanding is City of Camas is also using, are they using Planet Geo? So we have this information that's expanding beyond the City of Vancouver's work. And so hopefully we're able to have it for the whole county due to the funding limitations. We were only able to do the urban growth areas. We haven't yet completed the entirety of the unincorporated Clark County. So our next step is to do a phase 2 urban tree canopy assessment to have the same data for our rural areas. And we're requesting in our 2026 budget to complete the next phase of the urban tree canopy assessment.
Okay. The urban growth areas are the unincorporated Clark County that is part of all the city's urban growth areas.
Correct. So those are areas that have been identified through the comprehensive planning process that are eligible for additional development, extension of utilities, and where we're likely to see the most dense commercial and residential development happen over the next 20 years. So that's why we prioritized it, because knowing what our current status is, and knowing that we're expected to have more development, we now have that baseline information to track change and hopefully help preserve that canopy.
Are we to get a percentage out of this? Like, I feel like it's a drum roll. What is Clark County's percentage or no?
I will also offer, this is the first time this information is being presented. I haven't even presented it to my team. So this is hot off the press. Our council hasn't even heard about it yet. We're presenting this to them on August 13th. So I do have some high level data, but I'm not
You
able
can't
to
tell
get
us
into the weeds today.
38% or anything urban tree.
Have that.
Okay, never mind. Continue.
But I do also want to offer that after I've shared with everyone the urban tree canopy assessment, and then we also have the raw data as well as the tree plotter tool that we can send out as a follow-up to this meeting if you want to poke around and learn a little bit more about what we know about tree canopy now. And this again was completed in partnership with Clark Conservation District. Oh, there's the map we were looking for. I'm so sorry. So essentially, the study area, the urban growth areas are shown in light blue. And in our, within the urban tree canopy assessment, we were able to choose assessment boundaries. And so we have data broken down by watersheds. We also have tree canopy data within stream buffer areas, so within 200 feet of the streams, which are priorities for restoring salmon habitat. We also are able to understand how much of our tree canopy is public versus private. We know we have it broken down by municipal jurisdiction because these are the city urban growth areas that overlap with unincorporated Clark County. They haven't been annexed yet, may in the future. We have tree canopy by zoning, census blocks, and census block groups. So a lot of ways to slice and dice it so that we can really target what are now limited resources with intention. So here's your results: 28% urban tree canopy within Clark County's urban growth areas. And of that, that's approximately 9,866 acres. So not bad. But there's opportunity. We want to keep that. We don't want to lose that. And what we found is that between 2011 and 2023, we've lost approximately 1.1% of our tree canopy. But within this assessment, part of it was also identifying possible planting areas for future tree planting. And so of the unplanted areas, we know that 33% of it is plantable. And like Jessica mentioned, through this process too, we also omitted areas that aren't plantable, like ball fields, certain wetlands, utility corridors, places that we know aren't plantable in the future. We have a sense now of our ecosystem benefits. Jessica also presented this, but what we determined through this assessment is that the estimated annual value of the urban tree canopy within Clark County's UGA is $6.9 million. So this is a huge asset. It needs to be protected. There's a lot of value that's being produced through stormwater runoff management, carbon sequestration, carbon storage, as well as benefits to air quality. And as we all know, there's a lot more benefits that trees produce. So these are just a few of the things that were valued. We did have a pilot implementation. So when DNR approached us, they said, we will pay for your tree canopy assessment, but we also want you to do implementation. And it needed to be in an area that they have a tree equity score. So we had to consider multiple factors, including socioeconomic considerations and where we had the lowest identified tree canopy, which is the Minnehaha neighborhood. And through this process, we had to, working with Conservation District, identify areas to plant 850 trees. primarily in parks. So parks are managed by Clark County's Parks and Nature Division. So we work very closely with them to find those planting opportunities. We also worked with our roads division to plant some street trees. And again, this was all for the first time that we were doing this coordinated effort. So it was definitely a pilot. We learned a lot from it, and it was exciting to implement this in a very short time. The Conservation District worked with our community engagement team to help put together 3 volunteer planting events. We also had a free yard tree giveaway. Over 200 free trees were given away. And of the 850, we only were able to put 30 trees in right-of-ways, either in people's yards or trees. So, and part of that is because we don't have established street tree maintenance programs yet. So adding new trees that our operation staff then have to water and prune, there's a lot of details and logistics there that we're essentially at the beginning of figuring out, and how do we pay for it and make sure we keep them alive. So the Minnehaha neighborhood compared to our full UGA, which has a 28% tree canopy, the Minnehaha area only had a 23% canopy cover, so it was 5% low, which is the reason why we started there. The Minnehaha area also had above average impervious surfaces, so really the biggest opportunity to plant tree. They also had a loss in tree canopy between 2011 and 2023. Really excited. This all happened. The canopy assessment, the award from DNR, the assessment, and this pilot all happened within a year. So
Wow.
we're really excited. It was pretty quick. One of those extra things, but an opportunity that we didn't want to miss. So from the report, we have a series of recommendations. One thing I wanted to mention is I mentioned that municipal stormwater permit that has a lot of requirements. The state of Washington has a new stormwater permit requirement that our Clark County has to map all tree canopy now on publicly owned properties throughout our jurisdiction by December of 2026. So we've now done that for the urban growth areas. We still have to do that for the rural areas to be in compliance. If we don't do it, we're out of compliance, which comes with potential for enforcement or potential for third-party lawsuits. So we have to do this. This is coming from the state of Washington Department of Ecology. We also, by December of 2028, have to adopt and implement tree canopy goals and policies. So this will be, Charles mentioned that the urban forestry team has done a lot of work on codes and ordinances and standards for tree planting and enhancement. We're at the very beginning of that and formalizing. So it's a really exciting time. Additionally, our comprehensive plans, the city of Vancouver is going through that process, so is the county. For the first time, there's now a new climate resilience element where cities, municipalities have to plan for climate resilience. And within that, Clark County has established some tree canopy goals. So we're wanting to make sure we're working together and aligning our stormwater permit goals with our comprehensive planning goals, and using this urban tree canopy assessment really as that data again for the baseline so that we can set those goals. And I probably won't go into all of the rest, but we don't have an urban forestry program. So the goal would be to eventually build an urban forestry program, but that doesn't happen overnight. So you've been here for 20 years. It's taken a lot of time. and I can only aspire to be where the city of Vancouver is someday. But we really also want to focus on building those partnerships and resources to get trees in the ground. And working, since most of the urban tree canopy opportunities are on private properties, work as building those resources to help plant trees on private property. The Clean Water Commission, happy to be here. Glenn and Ted gave this presentation recently to our county council, but it's a 9-member volunteer advisory board. They advise Clark County Council on our division. And we have our commissioners are appointed for 3-year terms. And the mission is really to collaborate with organizations like yours, residents, government, businesses, to protect and restore water quality with a big focus on watershed health. Here's a picture of our commissioners. We did a heritage farm tour. This is only a few of them. I want to acknowledge that Rudy Salacorey is not here. Rudy has a long history working for the Cowlitz tribe and is now working on hydropower and tribal negotiations in the Pacific Northwest. Allison Schweitzer works for King County. Then Alejandro Cortez works for Metro in Portland. So we have a really amazing Clean Water Commission right now. It feels and we have a vacancy and we will be recruiting soon for 3 positions if anyone's interested. We do an annual report every year that highlights the commission's successes. One thing is we have a very active commission. So all of these organizations are organizations that our commissioners participate in. So a very broad presence in the community. We hold meetings every other month. They're open public meetings. You're welcome to attend. We also, last year, we went through a big effort to increase our source of funding. So the Clean Water Commission was very supportive. We also held a bus tour with our county counselors and got them out in the field. It was a really fun day. And then some of you, we hold an annual symposium. Last year it was focused on Vancouver Lake. The year prior it was focused on Lacamas Lake. And this year we're having another symposium, which I have a little bit of information about in the next slides. Here's some pictures from our bus tour. So you can tell we're having lots of fun. It was a good opportunity to get our county counselors out in sweepers and really show them what we do and why it's important for us to have funding for our programs. And we've heard now that everyone wants to go on another bus tour. So it was a great day. And there's a video on YouTube if you want to learn a little bit more about our programs as well as see some coverage of that bus tour. So our Vancouver Lake Symposium, lots of people attended. Here's again some more photos.
It was recorded by any chance?
Oh, yeah, it's all available on our website if you want to take a look. And it was held at the Water Resources Education Center. They've been very well attended and, we need to have a little bit of fun. This work's really important. And so these events are really inspiring to get everyone together in the same room. As far as commission priorities for this year, we now have to implement our rate study. We've said we're going to deliver 60 new services over the next 5 years, which is why we're hiring. The commission continues to support us. We have a non-point source pollution symposium planned for October 28th. We're planning to get the save the date out soon. That will be held at the Clark County Event Center. We're also working on some targeted stormwater planning in the Lower Salmon Creek watershed and climate change and really implementing the climate change element from comp plans, which includes tree canopy work, is a top priority for the commission this year, as well as community engagement and inclusion. And last but not least, collaboration with other boards and commissions, which is why we're here today and initiated this. So save the date. The non-point source pollution symposium is it's coming soon, but registration is not open yet, so you have not missed it. It's open to the public. We would encourage you to attend. It'll be a packed agenda. John, who's on the call, has been spearheading us through, and Ted's also on that subcommittee, and Tracy, and helping us plan a really strong agenda for that symposium. And that's all I have. I wasn't sure what to put together, but I wanted to give you an overview. But really, I think the key message is we have a lot to learn from you. We're at the beginning of building more formal urban forestry programs. And this will be the first conversation we've really had with our commission about that. That's it.
Devin, I got a quick question. Is there any revisit rate, like City of Vancouver has a 2-year revisit on the imagery analysis? Is that funded in the clean water fee increase?
What we have funded now is the completion of the full county. So we're applying, we want to do that next year. So we'll be asking council for about $120,000 to complete the rural area. We have not established a policy on the frequency at which that assessment will be completed. And so it was not included within the next 5 years. The next 5 years is just getting that baseline. I would ask Charles, how often, is there a best practice on how often those are completed?
For us, like we were used to the 5 to 10 year cycle and that worked. When we found out that the price was coming down and that they had this new program where you can do it, you can get on their program for every 2 years. We jumped at it just because we always get questions from like city council or from other departments being like, where are we now? Where are we now? And so now we can have that information versus like, well, we were and we will be, and when we do it again in 5 years. So we should have that every couple of years.
So great question. We don't have a policy. That's something we should probably discuss and establish what frequency makes sense for us as we're getting started. Is it every 2 years or maybe is it every 5 to 10 years? I don't have that answer, but definitely need to determine that.
Devin, you alluded to the city's development code in terms of tree canopy. We're learning so much that the city already knows about and has a much more robust code. Are there provisions in the code that we could incorporate into Clark County development plans that would be more tree friendly than they are right now?
I would hope. I can't say that I haven't studied your codes extensively yet, but I would hope that there are things that we could borrow and learn from. I think one of the challenges is that code is not retained in the Clean Water Division. So it will require it's not in Public Works either. That is in managed by our community development program. So that will require cross-departmental coordination. Are the codes maintained within Public Works, or are you also working across departments?
Cross departments, like there's the Urban Forestry Commission code is a Public Works code. The street tree ordinance is a Public Works code, but the private tree ordinance is development. It's in the development code.
So to answer
We're
your
trying to
question,
update
lots
those
to
right
learn.
now.
And we just went through a project for proposed updates to the development code, the private tree ordinance, as well as the landscape chapter. And if I remember correctly, our landscape chapter is very similar to Clark County's. Okay. Vancouver took a lot of stuff when they were updating their landscape chapter from Clark County. So that should be pretty similar. But then the development code is different.
Okay.
And we just went through a process through our tree canopy assessment and our management plan, as well as hiring a consultant to really start to look at how we can update the development code for preservation of how we can just elevate trees as part of the development process. And that's ideally moving forward with the comp plan, because the city's comp plan that's happening now is really looking at the entire code and updating the entire code.
Jennifer has a question.
Jenny?
Oh, I was going to offer, I hope you can hear me, that at Clark County Council last night, we did the biennial code update, and it was led by development engineering, but Hunter Decker, our urban forester, was there. And there were some updates just for clarification regarding hazardous trees and some of the urban forestry that's run through the lands program. So that was just done, but they do those periodically as needed. So there's probably definitely room to coordinate with them on the next update.
Thank you, Jenny. If there are no more questions, I know that we want to provide time for commissioner discussion. So, but I'm happy if there are any final questions or comments.
I kind of have a question. Somebody who's just on the very northern edge of the urban growth boundary for Vancouver. We have 4 acres and it's very biodiverse and I planted a lot of trees. My neighbor next door who has cows actually gets like a discount. And then like, what happens then when it's developed, it's zone mixed use? Like, do I get punished for having to cut down trees for development? And then my neighbor is rewarded once again, who just has a pasture full of cows, because they don't have any trees that get cut down. So, does that disincent, somebody who is in an urban growth boundary to not plant any trees, because I don't want to be punished later, because, you have to cut some trees down, unfortunately, to develop a property.
And I wish I knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
I do not know the answer to that. I know that the county has some different tax codes that are related to agriculture and
Right.
discounts. I'm definitely not an expert on that, but I think it's a important one to capture in our notes to follow up and learn a bit more about and discuss further.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
Does the city have any incentives or fee reductions for tree planting?
No, we just have our tree fund program to help folks plant trees, but there's no cash incentive to tree preservation or.
Question, given the kind of natural tension between development and the Growth Management Act mandates and, squeeze this here, push that there, do this. Is there something that the commission you could have, like, if you were king for a day, that you would ask for policy wise or code wise to take a bigger bite out of how to really preserve that canopy and or grow it faster? Because I live in Camas. One of the big areas that's being redeveloped is the North Shore of Lacamas Lake. Unfortunately, that's on an extremely steep slope, so there's no penalty function for clear cutting steep slopes and sloughing off tons of sediment. I mean, yeah, they put sediment silt fences up and those get blown over. Everybody knows that. So, if there was a bigger bite that you could take out of the apple, so to speak, what would you do to try and, because we know it's inevitable, we know we've got to do it. We want to find a win-win if there is one. Sometimes policy kind of shapes that. And so and this is a big question, but I'm kind of wrestling with that because like develop in the worst possible area to contribute the most sediment you can. It's like, wow, how do you can't offset that function. Okay, plant 10 more trees over there and we'll call it a day. That's not even Steven, to me.
What's your big dream?
Well, I think there's a lot of science coming out now about the benefits of biodiversity. And it looks like about 33%, 30%, if you can retain 30% of what is existing there, that helps retain that biodiversity on site, because you're leaving, whether it's areas for microorganisms all the way to mammals or birds on site. So really trying to elevate that balance of the natural versus the built environment. First starting with whatever resources you do have on site and trying to retain that 30% on site, and then making sure that you have space available so that you can build off of that throughout the entire site. So you can build those canopies, so you can build those corridors for wildlife. Or
connected corridors, right?
Exactly, yeah. So then looking at if you could require 30% canopy or 30% of what your existing resources is still left on site, and then how do you build off that with your remaining site? Whether it's 20%, leaving 20% as pervious surfaces, so that still leaves about 80% of actually built. So smart growth, looking at really from really elevating that. What resources do you have? What quality trees do you have on site, or habitat on site that you can incorporate into your design, and then building up instead of the row houses that are 12 to 50 row houses with just all 2-car garages.
When you're worried about silt running down into the lake, is that just during the construction period until?
Oh, sure. I mean, that's part one of it. Number two, you've lost the natural sponge because you've either paved over or compacted and removed all the existing topsoil off of it. So you're now concentrating a lot more runoff. And with that runoff, you're going to rip some sediment off of the side of a hill, that's exposed, right? That isn't forested anymore. You'll carry, in addition, 6 ppdq, all kinds of other nice things, heavy metals from pavement that you didn't have before, and it's right on top of a lake. So, you lose that natural function. How do you offset it in an equitable way? I worked in the Corps for a few years, and there was a lot of mitigation banking, and I'm wondering if there's an analog for tree canopy that could really look at true, biodiverse natural system function and equate that to, what they have to replace. Don't just give me 10, little saplings over here in a corner. I'm just, and I don't know what's equitable. But I don't think we take a big enough bite there, to be honest.
Do you have a tree mitigation program? Did you say 1-for-1 or?
So the current code is, if it's just for hazard tree removal, it's a 1-for-1 ratio. That is a tree that's declining or on its way out. So it's a 1-for-1. For new development or any projects that are going through new development, it's a 30 tree units. And so it's a tree unit scale of 30, but larger trees are worth more. So you could have a 30-inch Doug fir that's worth 7 units. And so if you had an acre and you saved, 4 or 5 Doug firs, you potentially could have your tree units met than just that small grove of trees.
Sometimes big trees don't survive the construction process, though. Just being next to all that vibration and that disturbance and the compaction.
And losing their friends, and so.
Yeah, losing the family.
Hits the
Yeah.
ground and.
There's that.
Yeah.
Online markets.
We have Mark, and then I saw John had his hand up. If we want to go to John second. Hi, Mark.
Hi, thanks. Appreciate the opportunity and extremely pleased to see that the county's stepping into this arena with full focus on creating what's going to be necessary. And particularly grateful that the county's chosen to weave this into the water quality scenario because of the direct relationship with tree canopy and water quality, stormwater control. All of those things have a factor. My primary question, first off, let me just say, I served on the Urban Forestry Commission about 30 years ago, and we hired our first urban forester in Vancouver. We also created a tree conservation ordinance and a number of other things like an urban forest steward, that sort of thing. But for me right now, with where you folks are at the county level, I'm excited about the possibility of integrating data and particularly looking at policy design and development across jurisdictions. And so seems to me, given where you're going with this effort, to weave the municipalities' approaches into your analysis. And it would be wonderful to have a comparative analysis by jurisdiction and how that analysis relates to the targets you have for tree canopy and looking at some of the lessons learned in all this. So that's all I need to say about that. I worked a significant amount of forest planning on the Gifford Pinchot National Forest, retired in '96 after 21 years, and was a principal planner as we were finishing out the Gifford Pinchot National Forest plan in the early '90s. So I know what you all are going through, and just grateful to see this playing out at this scale.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate your comments and support for what we're trying to achieve within the Clean Water Division. Thank you. John, are you still on? Did you have a question or a comment?
Well, I am still on, yeah. So, and hopefully it's a fairly simple question, but looking at the report for the urban canopy assessment, one of the recommendations was develop outreach programs for private landowners, and certainly your presentation outlined a number of groups you're already working with, but are there others that you want to work with, but you haven't had a chance? And I ask that in part because we have a subcommittee for outreach and inclusion. We're just starting up, and it'd be wonderful to coordinate and make sure we're emphasizing the same things.
Yeah, that's a great question, John. So we, within the county, we have a community engagement and inclusion team that has done some volunteer stewardship plantings within parks. This pilot effort with Clark Conservation District was our first time trying to work formally with a partner on coordinating volunteer tree planting events. We're really, again, at the beginning. I think identifying and exploring different partnerships. We do have the Backyard Habitat Program, which has some connection to trees, but isn't entirely tree focused. But I would say some of the other organizations that I know in the community that do important tree work are the Watershed Alliance, who is here, as well as Friends of Trees. We don't have a formal tree planting relationship established beyond the pilot that we just did with the Park Conservation District. So developing priorities and ideas for how we work with organizations to implement outreach programs is a priority, I would say. We still have a lot of planning to do and a lot of program development to do to really get strategic and identify what are those needs, who are the landowners, property owners that we see are the most important to outreach to. So I want to make sure that we are giving ample space to do more planning, more program development, to learn from others, and start identifying potential partnerships. And that is something I think we should take into the subcommittee, John. And I know Eric's on the Friends of Trees board, so I think he would be very excited to talk with you about that.
I know in urban forestry, we have our corridors subcommittee, and they've been very successful. So they take transportation projects that are planned 2 or 3 years out, and they pick a couple of corridors that they canvass for planting opportunities. And I think the transportation department is very supportive of that. So they fund a lot of those plantings, right, Charles?
Yeah, it's a lot of safety improvement projects. So whether it's like speed bumps or new striping that's happening, then they want to do whatever they can to actually start to slow speed on those streets. So they've funded a lot of the projects.
And trees are one of those things that slow people down.
And I think that's an area for us to learn a lot more about when we were figuring out the pilot and planting trees. I think, I don't know if you've heard, there's some people who are nervous about trees and potential for accidents. So I think continuing to look at the actual benefits that for traffic calming in trees is an important consideration for us to learn more about and work in partnership with our roads departments on.
Yeah, I think that's been a nice way for us to also figure out where we can concentrate an effort and make like a nice corridor.
That's been good. Complete streets, smart growth. I love it. I want to live in a community that has street trees personally. So.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, thank you for that. That was fantastic.
Do you have a quick question?
I'll
Otherwise, we
wait.
can move into
go
into discussion.
Well, we're just going to talk about Star Wars. So we might as well ask. So what did we learn from each other? Who learned more? Let's make it a contest.
Well, I think the prompt, I'm like, let me go back to the prompt. I learned a lot. Well, I'm constantly learning from the city of Vancouver. And I think what I'm learning is like, there's a lot that I don't know, and I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
So
there's the known knowns, the
yeah.
known unknowns. Yeah.
And so where Vancouver is, we're down here, Vancouver would say is much further ahead, and that takes time. And so I'm interested in continuing this peer-to-peer, jurisdiction-to-jurisdiction learning, and then also, garnering that political support too from our county council and working across our roads department, our parks department. A lot of that relationship building is going to be key to be able to institutionalize programs within the county. So can't promise there'll be, an urban forestry program tomorrow, but I am committed to, with this assessment, talking more about urban forestry programs and the benefit of them and how we can work together and why it's important.
Yeah. Are the majority of your projects then they're like these large scale projects in pretty rural areas? It's not very neighborhood focused?
Correct. So Clark County owns thousands of acres of land. And so our team, I actually do have a reforestation focused person on my team, but they're more focused on those larger scale, multi-acre riparian and restoration projects on our county owned greenways. So in the Salmon Creek watershed or the East Fork Lewis River, where we have large intact corridors. So where the real, so we're doing a lot there, planting tons of trees. So specifically, the opportunity, I think, is within more of the urban tree canopy, individual smaller lots and street trees. Did you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to build on something that Mark said about integrating. I'm curious about because I read the urban tree canopy assessment. So you've got 28% canopy in the UGAs, and if I remember right, about 30% impervious surfaces. And we've got 20% urban tree canopy inside city limits, right? So is it possible to connect those maps? Like, I would love to see the map that shows here's Vancouver's urban tree canopy, and here's the UGAs. And that should, in theory, drive some policy. Because if you have 20% inside the city, you have 28% in the UGAs. We really want to retain as much as possible in these UGAs. And that should inform policy. So I don't know if that's something that's possible.
Well, the problem is the UGAs, a lot of the area hasn't been developed yet, so.
Oh, I get that.
So how do we balance the density, the desire for density with the tree canopy? I mean, how do you do that?
I think, well, that's why we focused in on the UGAs, knowing that they're slated for development.
Yeah.
So we don't want to lose that 8%. I would say, but we also don't have a goal yet of what percentage makes sense for us. And Charles, I appreciated what you said. 30% is our goal now. That might decrease, that might increase, depending on development patterns. And so we still need to establish that goal. And if that area could potentially be annexed, doing that with the city of Vancouver would make sense, and bringing the city of Camas to the table as well was also, I don't know how close you're coordinating with them, but I can say I haven't had the privilege of coordinating very closely with them yet.
And that was sort of something I was.
That's very sneaky.
What do we know about Camas, Washougal, Battleground, Ridgefield, etc.? Do they have anything related to this?
Camas just started their urban tree canopy, so they've got a baseline, same thing, Planet Geo did it. And I think I was just at a Ward 2 town hall the other night that they were talking about how they really wanted to set a goal, but they were kind of like afraid to commit to a number, so that's the hesitancy of, accountability. And this goal that you speak to is that, it's by nature going to have to move around a little bit to accommodate some pressures. And as long as people understand that, I think it's fair, that it's not a hard number, but it's certainly worthy to try. If you don't set something, you'll get nothing. It's like setting the high jump bar at a foot, everybody will clear it. Developers will keep going, so somehow.
I think it's important, right, to focus on the plantable areas in your already developed neighborhoods and stuff, so that those trees can get planted and established and start providing canopy, so that when the next lot over is bulldozed and developed, you're growing here to supplement. Because this isn't going to happen in 1 year, it will be a long process.
Focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Charles, do you have different goals for different zoning or property types, like residential, commercial, industrial?
Yeah, so all the goals are based on the land use designation or zoning. And so it looks at the 75th percentile. So you have a data set, and that wherever that 75th percentile is where your goal is. which basically means that 25% of the data set is above the goal, 25% is above the median. And so you're really trying to work on those medians and those lower areas to bring them up.
Thanks.
And it's based on, so the commercial, industrial, multifamily, or commercial, industrial, multifamily, and then single family all has their different goals.
Mark's had his hand up for quite a while now.
Oh, there it
Go
is.
ahead, Mark.
I never.
And you're on mute.
Just a quick comment on the tree canopy targeting and whatnot. You know, the diversified tree canopy is always the most fundamental. The big trees are the big payoff in most canopies. And so 2 things. One, we're losing most of our canopy on private land. And number 2, we need to incentivize the maintenance of as much big trees as possible. Part of the design of the tree conservation ordinance in Vancouver was to give extra credit for the bigger trees on the lot, just simply because they bring so much value to that piece of ground as opposed to X number of small trees. So that's just a key component. I think 2 things are key here. One, you got to get some mapping going on private land and some way to monitor the canopy status. And number 2, I think you want to look at how to incentivize those landowners maintaining the best trees on those lands. And it's going to have to tie into tax policy, because until we get this tied to the tax rules on property land, we're not going to get a big bite on this thing. So that's where the real action's at in my book.
That's very well stated, Mark.
I felt the same way.
And to answer your question about looking at the data together, that's something we should talk about, because if we're using Tree Plotter, you're using Tree Plotter, Canvas is using Tree Plotter, we use the same vendor, there has to be a way that we could connect the dots regionally. I don't know if that'll take, but.
No, in our
good follow-up.
our GIS department should be able to merge the overlay to looking at that perspective.
So we could do a full countywide goal or a.
That would be wild.
Thank you for all the great questions. I know that there were specific prompts that, and this is, we might not even need them. Is there, and we're getting close to 8. I don't know what time you try to wrap up.
The question was asked, what did we learn as clean water commissioners tonight? And we learned a lot, I would say. It was very helpful. What struck me was looking at your FAQs on your website, particularly, following what Mark just eloquently said. Trees can decrease stormwater running over the ground by 35%, and the average street tree in Vancouver captures 600 gallons per rain annually.
Wow.
I mean, those are the statistics that could drive the kind of policy that Mark's talking about, and that we're all talking about. And that's the kind of statistics that you all are gathering, and those are impressive. And that's what makes change, I think, when you can demonstrate what the physical effect is of a healthy, productive tree canopy.
I will add to that. One thing we're following right now is there's a lot of people who have recognized the value of trees in managing stormwater. One of the challenges is in our stormwater BMP manual that we have to follow statewide, stormwater trees haven't necessarily been a BMP that's been identified as a stormwater measure. Well, the state's looking at that now, and they're looking at establishing trees as stormwater assets, which means it opens up our ability to invest funding in them. It could also change how trees are regulated and change how we treat trees. So we are also tracking what's happening at the state level to prepare for future regulations that will reinforce the value that trees have for managing stormwater. I know I flagged that for you. I don't know if you've been able to dig in yet, but there's been a lot of work happening and a lot of rumblings. And they're making us all map our trees right now and set goals. So we're like, what's coming?
We want to know what you have and where it is.
So to answer your question too about what do we all have in common, right now, anyone who has over 10,000 residents, do you know if the phase 2s are being required to map?
They are.
Okay, so all of us who have over 10,000 residents in Washington State are required to map our tree canopy between now and 2026 and then set policies by 2028. Our permits get reissued in 2029, which is when they update the regulations. So once again, what's coming in 2029, if you're reading in the tea leaves, there's likely going to be some implementation requirements. So we're tracking it. We don't know yet, but we're getting prepared.
I'm curious from a stormwater perspective, because we're talking about trees and the benefit of trees for stormwater. How valuable in comparison to a tree is like native plants in general with their root systems or shrubs, native shrubs?
Depends on
Just
the
small.
plant.
Yeah,
Depends on the tree too, yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, they're natural uptakers of a lot of different things, you know, metals, trace organics, so
Yeah.
they can be a filtering mechanism, environmental filtering mechanism too.
Right, Sunrise can speak
And
to that.
that's, you know, Devin's point about a BMP, best management practice, you know, if you're trying to address, you know, a lot of street runoff and stuff in areas that are heavily urbanized, and you can, you know, get some native plants that are uptakes, you know, they have planting charts and stuff that are allowed in bio retention facilities, for instance, and some of those are natives, some aren't. So we're always encouraging, and I know some.
Oh, I know.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so, you know, and they're getting after some of the stormwater retrofits and stuff to do a better job of integrating natives there too. So as part of that.
Is it effective only if it's in like kind of a wetland scenario, or is it effective if replacing grass in your between the sidewalk and the street?
Oh, you can do it in strips. Yeah.
And it would be
There's
beneficial.
there's
still?
engineered ways to integrate that. City of Pittsburgh is huge on that.
So it would have to be the built down, what is that called?
I mean, the backyard habitat program has like a whole section
rainwater.
on that strip between the sidewalk and the street, like all the ideas of things that you can plant there. And
Yeah.
I mean, you know, obviously it's impossible to look at what native plants can do and just say, oh, it's only for the stormwater, right? I mean, the benefits of them are huge.
Right, yeah, because we have the pollinator committee and to work closely with Vancouver Beet Project and with Friends of Trees to try and add more native plants to the city for pollinator habitat. But I'm thinking, is there a stormwater perspective that we can come to help this argument as well?
Versus non-native plants or versus grass?
Versus grass.
You're
Oh,
speaking
yeah,
Tracy's language right here.
I've always.
I mean, the root systems alone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's really the biggest thing. Like grass with the backyard habitat program is like considered an impervious surface because the root system is so shallow. I mean, you know, think about when they have the sod cutters or whatever, like it's just this deep and then you're done. So, I mean, the native plants really get down there into the ground.
I've always wanted to have like a no-mow yard, like contest, something like that to encourage people to plant
Yeah,
like you.
It's a great idea
Yeah.
because how do you spread that more? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm winning.
We should
it
talk
now
about that.
because of my broken leg.
Okay, that was a great conversation. I think we should definitely continue another day. Sure, we should plant some trees together and talk about it some more.
Have a good night, John. Thank you for being here and have fun at your concert. He's on vacation going there.
Bye, guys.
Concert.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, John.
Bye.
It was like an 80s band of some sort. Yeah.
Slayer. Yeah. Okay, so let's, where are we at? Let's do commission communications. This is where the Urban Forestry Commission talks about what they've done in the community since the last meeting. Does anyone want to start?
I can start.
Okay.
Okay, so I have been working, I wrote one letter to a Tree of Heaven person a couple years ago and it was successful. She reached back out and we had Jeff treat it. So I did a little snail mail letter blast on Grand, so to 7 properties. And one actually had preemptively reached out to Jeff and we heard back from another one today. So this will be great if we can like treat this little corridor.
This Grand has so much Tree of Heaven.
Yeah,
It's
great.
ridiculous.
So I'm working on one
Probably in the
lot.
tree ahead.
Like a nursery, yeah.
So that's something I'll report back about how that's going. We also have our neighborhood barbecue coming up, so I would like a few of the urban forestry pamphlets and materials to distribute for that. And we had pollinator committee, so they just had the pollinator festival, which was very successful despite the torrential day tour.
It was so good.
The links to the talks are available on their Vancouver Beat Project website, or it might be the BCD USA website, not sure which one.
How successful were the talks? Because the talks were across the street, right?
Yeah.
And they were,
You know, I don't know
they looked
exactly
good
how
on
well
Instagram, but
attended they were, but also I didn't attend that day, remember, so.
We had a lot of people asking where they were, though. People were, from the info booth.
Yeah.
So anecdotally.
Yeah. Cool, okay, great. We have been talking about how to work with the corridors committee to increase, as we're doing corridors projects, also increase pollinator habitat planting in the same area. And we're hoping to have the grounds team come to our next meeting to discuss meadow stuff and maintenance and stuff.
can you send, I would love to go to that. Can you send a,
Yes, I can, because I think we have space
okay, good.
for an extra commissioner. And we're trying to look as a subcommittee on the IPM plan. So sorry, try to rush through.
Okay, I'll go next. Me and my wife cut loose about 20 trees from their evil chain lock. And of course, these nasty things were still on them. Not any longer. Water random tree that's struggling. It's probably a Persian ironwood. It's up near Garrison Square. So I'm watering that on Sundays, at least 10 or 15 gallons. Watered 2 trees on Gibbons across the street from the post office a couple of times. I'll probably continue that all the way through the beginning of October. Went to the Pollinators Fest, did the farmer's market. I emailed my handler, Jesse, about 10 times about, I know he's my handler. I emailed him about 10 times about commercial and retail trees that are a problem, like U-Haul, like all the trees up Andreessen between 18th and Mill Plain, and I got to get on him about a couple more. I try not to drown him. The Korean Church, the VHA on 18th. Also, I found a couple more heritage tree candidates, and of course, outreach at Domain Sanders was great. I was kind of inspired by the idea that each water commissioner covers a different watershed. We cover different neighborhoods, but I was thinking that our coverage of those neighborhoods could look for potential plantings, and sort of a more in-depth kind of like trying to help those neighborhoods rather than just being available if they want to talk to us. What else? That's it.
I can go. I have a few things that I did recently. I recently attended the Emerald Ash Borer workshop hosted by Ian and Andrew, who are here. That was really phenomenal. And actually, the day after that, I talked to a few people who I know who have ash trees, and just referenced some of the key things that I've learned from Ian and Andrew about emerald ash borer infestation are sprouting like new branches from the lower section of the trunk of a tree, the like leaves from the top of the tree start to die, and then increased woodpecker activity. And I talked to one person in particular who had an ash tree that had all 3 of those things happening to their ash tree in city of Vancouver. So I gave them the urban forestry phone number, and they said they would call on Monday. And I haven't heard anything, no news articles about emerald ash borer in Washington. Hopefully there was no emerald ash borer there. I'm also coordinating with Charles and Shannon from ELSO about collaboration between WSU Vancouver and ELSO on some tree plantings and other stuff like that. And these, I have a research article that I read by WSU about how different species of trees are able to best intercept stormwater. I thought it'd be really relevant if anyone wants to read some. I have a few copies
Thank
right
you.
there. Really great article. I'm a little bit biased because I go to W. But otherwise, it's great.
About emerald ash borer, you can get ash trees inoculated. Just give them a little bit more protection. So if anyone, that's just a good thing to tack on to any conversation like that.
Great.
Jess?
Let's see, I was at the bee festival and got rained on, just like everyone else. But a lot of interaction with a lot of people. It was surprisingly well attended given the conditions at the time. And let's see, the other thing, the outreach subcommittee. So we're moving forward there on plans for the Old Apple Tree Festival.
Looking for someone who wants to be in a costume. That was the one thing I was going to say. We want to do outreach without having a table. Like at the Pollinator Festival, those singers were walking around through the booths singing. Like we're trying to figure out how to
integrate.
Yes.
What's the costume you're about to?
An apple.
It's a little bit of an apple, yeah, or an acorn or
We
something
were
like that.
inspired by the bee that was at the pollinator.
That's what it says there.
Several apples.
Yeah.
So if anyone likes that kind of thing.
That's it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, well, I also attended the outreach subcommittee meeting. I also met with Melissa Johnston because I'm taking over her neighborhoods, and got some great insight on working on the Urban Forestry Commission and ideas for outreach to the neighborhoods. Like everybody else, I've been doing all the commission OPMA, boards and commissions training. Ask me anything. I began Tree Board University. Thank you very much, Charles. And also am participating in the American Forest Coaching Network series on tree equity and reciprocity. The second session is tomorrow. So look, that's about once a month through February. Pretty fun. I attended a really interesting webinar on resilient city making by a Portland State University professor who had very interesting ideas on measuring thermal comfort level in proposed developments for climate sort of assessment and maybe attaching that to incentives for developers to build in a climate friendly way. And also important work on the correlation between tree canopy and health outcomes over the long term. And I think that is another place where when you're looking at policy development, that because it's really clear that when there's a lot of tree canopy, you have better health outcomes. So that's
better mental health.
Yeah. I also created a Google map of the heritage trees, as I said I would do. And I have both that, and I also found some errors on the heritage tree website, so I can just email that to you.
Thank you.
I was also at the Pollinator Festival, but not as an urban forestry commissioner. I was just an info booth freezing on solstice, but it was really, really fun to do it.
Awesome. Great. We can go to the water commission.
Don't you have Mark?
Mark is
Mark's
retired.
past commission.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
But Heidi.
Or Heidi.
Past century, right?
Yeah, so I've been doing just a little bit because I'm still new to this, but I reached out to my neighborhood, spread some information and resources that the Urban Forestry Commission can do, like let people know that we can help them get trees in. So that was great. And then just sort of on a personal level, my husband and I have been clearing out our backyard, which has a lot of invasive plants, and we're going to be bringing in trees as soon as that's cleared out. So we're really excited about that. We've been working on getting that taken care of for a few years now, so we're almost done.
Thank you, Heidi. I think that's it for us. Did you have a roundtable that you do to see?
No, we have our formal meeting next month, so we'll.
Oh, okay. That's right. This is optional. That's right. Okay.
I know we were kind of interested what activities you guys kind of do when you're not between your meetings. If anybody just wanted to share.
I
Yeah,
was
that'd
at
be
the
great.
Pollinator Festival with my family, enjoying the kids booth area. And Vancouver Sailing Club, we had a youth sailing regatta, so it was interesting being there and touching the water and interacting.
Cool.
Yeah, so kind of a combination of advocacy and education and a nonprofit that I'm a part of called the Camas Earth Day Society. The education piece, we've created something called the Living Lab, which is a kind of a backyard, in the process of being a backyard certified habitat. We took an old abandoned grassland that was just getting mowed every so often, and we're starting to reforest that. Have just poured a lot of sweat equity into that hill slope, developing learning circles, and now we're instituting a new phase of it, which is really predicated on in regenerative farming practices. So we're hauling a lot of mulch up the hill to put some natural fertilizer back up there that the grasses have kind of just sucked up, ad infinitum, and trying to rebuild that. But we'll have a little bit of a vermiculture station up there as well for the kids. And what we're trying to do, it's sitting on Prune Hill Elementary's property. So the fifth grade environmental science classes each have 3 sessions there each year where they do kind of a round robin through these learning circles of different planting, invasive bullying, exercises, plant identification, some simpler things. But this year, what we're trying to do, we got a couple of rising high schoolers that go to what they call a green team in Camas High School. And we're trying to get them to take some interest in the vermiculture and the regenerative farming activities on the hill and kind of own those, and then do some mini science projects with those, form a hypothesis, track it, watch what happens, compare it to, this habitat versus that. How fast did things grow? What about our blackberry patch that we yanked out? We didn't yank it out though, because all we did was just kind of mow it to the roots, and it provided a really, really rich habitat to plant willow stalks. So we're leaving that as is and just kind of, harvesting off the sprouts as they come up and letting that die off to put the nutrient cycling back in. And so we've got a rising ninth grader that's looking at all that and studying that. So that's the education side. Advocacy side, just been active in Lacamas Lake. Trying to take a look at different, win-win strategies there. Maybe a preview to you, Devin, about regenerative farming. We've got some really great ideas we'd like to share down the road. And then last, drinking water in Camas, like Vancouver, PFAS contamination, and so active in that aspect of trying to protect the watershed and look for sources and try to help the city along in that regard too. So that's kind of some of my personal time.
Do you have any solutions for canary reed grass removal?
Canary reed grass? Oh, thank you.
I got a ton of that.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Okay. Sunrise, sorry.
It's a mess.
There's different ways that people are doing it. If you want to avoid chemicals, you can always, willows are great, so you can always, if it's not wetland area.
No, it's a milk.
It's not wetland. It's not wet. So yeah, you can mow it and then mulch around, do donuts around the plants and just keep mowing it down. And if you do willows, those grow so fast that you can shade it. That's the key, is you need to shade it as fast as you can. But it takes mowing it down until you can get that. So we have an area in Ridgefield that was all of that, and now it's all willows. So
wow.
And we didn't, so there are ways to do it without chemicals.
Yeah, I don't want to do any chemicals whatsoever.
Yeah, usually it's just mowing. It's mowing it and getting those plants in. Willow stakes are a really economical way to do it, especially if you can find anywhere that you can get them. We do buy them for our large projects, and they run about $1.50 or so. There's a company called Northwest Flora that you can buy willow stakes from in large quantities. Just put them in. And then as they grow, like Glenn said, you can then cut the branches off and then just replant that way.
Oh, gotcha.
It's pretty easy.
It's a big bin stock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you have enough established, you don't have to buy them anymore. Well, unless you're planting like 5,000 acre, but then, it's simple to do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyone else want to share anything?
On a personal matter, like Glenn, I'm an advocate for a different lake, Vancouver Lake. One of the founding members of Friends of Vancouver Lake. We've been at it for 7 years now, making some progress. We're in phase 2 of the Vancouver Lake lake management planning process. Almost $500,000 from the state for the last 3 years of planning. So we're making progress on that front, but there's a lot of work yet to be done. Encourage my grandchildren to get out on the lake this summer, and I have one kid in learning to row camp and one granddaughter in learning to boat camp. So,
Nice.
and this was just before they had a algae advisory, but it wasn't bad, and so now things are kind of calmed down. Although this weather this week may cause the blooms to we'll see. On the home front, I need to talk to Tracy because we are ready to be certified. Backyard habitat. So I need to talk to you about how we get that done next month. We've been working on it for 3 years and we're ready to go. So,
Wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Any new business or suggestions for another meeting?
Did you share what you've been up to?
Oh,
I think I've talked
she'll be back. Any new business? Thoughts for the future?
We'd like to have Watershed Alliance come back.
Yeah. Yeah. For real.
And if you decide you want something other than tree planting, because it's not really tree planting season, we have some pretty amazing beach cleanups coming up. So we've got some kind of unique ones that partnering with OWIs, which is Odyssey World International Educational Services. So we call them OWIs, they do as well. And we're doing a kite flying, so if you have
Really?
kids, grandkids, nieces, any kids, just don't take random kids, any kids.
Someone else's kid.
Yeah, if you're friends with them, sure. Anyway, so we do a beach cleanup at Frenchman's Bar, and then after that, we have, courtesy of Owie's, there will be lunch, and then they do kites that are water focused, so like, I don't know what they'll be this year, but they're usually like octopus or squids or whatever they are,
Nice.
variously, anyways, and then they can color them, and then we do kite flying. So that's one that's unique, and then our second unique one is, that's July 26th. And our second kind of special one is August 17th, and that one we'll be working with an Aztec dance group that it will have Aztec dancers from all around, actually, even coming, well, fingers crossed, coming from Mexico. And so we do a beach cleanup at Frenchman's, bring your own picnic lunch, and then after that, we do a whole healing the river ceremony. This is a traditional ceremony in Mexico with the Aztecs. So it's inclusive. Normally you just watch it, but they are doing it in a special way that we can, as non-Latinos or anyone that's not part of the Aztec community, you can then participate in it as well. So we make a large flower offering, which are towers of flowers, and then do a whole dance ceremony. We make them there, and then we put them in the river. And then there's the plants, but then we put them in the river and do that. So we have beach cleanups all throughout the season until September. So if you decide you want to do something a little bit water focused, but in a cleanup, and then like I said, we have regular ones at Wentler during the week, and then also Saturdays.
Instagram, or how do we find out about?
Instagram, Facebook, website, but yeah, Instagram is, and both of the socials. Those are the two that we use.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, that's it. Our next meeting is August 20th. Otherwise, meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and suggesting.
Thank you.
Great discussion.
Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah.
I had fun seeing on the side. I went to
Yeah.
went to Seattle a couple years ago. Convention. They released a hot shot.